make sure to check the stream as usual. Here is our subject. If you are new on Discord or if you are new to this server, we do these lessons with streaming. You need to check the Türkçe Öğrenelim Discord account. It's online right now, it says live. Everything I will say will be displayed on the stream, all the examples. If you are on a mobile phone, you need to double tap on the account's nickname. That's how it opens. If you want to make it full screen, you can also click on pop out option and it will be full screen. This way you can also watch the stream and follow the text channel. By the way, let me just check how many people are there. Okay, there are enough people, so we are ready to go. So today we will talk about, there are so many names. They are also called infinitives or gerunds or verbal nouns, or in Turkish we call them isim fiil. Okay, so if you are studying with Duolingo or other textbooks, there are chances you will see them as infinitive and gerunds, but simply they are called verbal nouns, and I will explain why they are called verbal nouns. So they are actually nouns, but they are verbal. So before we move on, here is a quick tip on how to understand this. In Turkish schools, we study this subject as fiilimsi. It's like a formation of a noun, adjective or adverb from verbs. So we take some verbs, we put some suffix on the verbs, and we turn them into nouns, adjectives, or adverbs. In previous lessons, we have also covered like a lot of them. Today we will talk about the first one, isim fiil, so noun verb or verbal noun. Okay, also more insight on the formation of this. The imsi suffix at the end works as the same as ish in English, like fiilimsi, verbish. If you're talking about colors, you can say pinkish, pembemsi, like it's not quite pink, but it's almost like pink. Or there's something like a food, it's not hot, but it's kind of hotish. So we have the same imsi suffix, and that's why we call them fiilimsi. They are like verbish. They are not quite verbs, but they function as verbs. They are, they are not nouns, but they come from verbs. Okay, so that's how the suffix works. Yeah, a lot of books call them really different names. They are called genitives, gerunds, infinitives, verbal nouns, verbals, or just verbals. They are really different names. This is why I'm trying to give you every title. So if you read a book, when you see this subject, you will recognize what it's about. Okay, and we are moving to this new table. That's all you need to know. And there's this, there are actually three suffixes, makmek, mame, or ish, ush. Like there are the other ones, the other versions are actually the vowel harmony of the same suffix. For example, there is, mek of version of mak or me of ma. So this way you will know they're actually the same, but you are just typing them in the vowel harmony. And there will be ish, ush. This one will be a bit more difficult to understand compared to the first two, but we will also talk about it. So first, let's talk about the first suffix, mak or mek. I am trying to compare this to English, so you, even if you are not a native speaker of English, you will still understand how they are used, how they are formed. So this is basically like an infinitive in English, like the dictionary form of a verb. When you type a verb on Google, you type them like to speak or to talk or to think. So this is how we use this in this form, like tenseless or personless, like the bare default form of verbs. So it's the same for other verbs. For example, we have this we have this görmek, which means to see. So this mek ending is like to in English. Görmek. And same for the rest. Yazmak means, actually it's yaz, but we add the infinitive form when it's the default version. So yazmak, to write. Also, as you know, Turkish has a lot of context sensitive verbs. So yazmak can also mean to type. So I am only trying to use the first definitions of the nouns. Okay, so gelmek, that means to come. So you will see these verbs in different meanings based on different context. Like in some cases it can be used something else. It's not always to write or it's not always to type. And uyumak, to sleep. So this is how mak or mek is used in sentences. It's used as an infinitive version of a verb. And mak is the opposite, so it's gerund. So at least now there's a ma or me ending. If it is easier to remember, you can also just remember this as like the ke drops and it turns into ma. But it's basically konuşma, or görme, seeing, or yazma, writing, gelme, coming, and uyuma, sleeping. The ing endings on English verbs is how we use ma or me in Turkish. Konuşma, so like konuşmak means to speak, konuşma means speaking. In different sentences, you use them differently in different meanings. So that's how it differentiates in Turkish too. And the last one is more independent. It's not like this, but it's more like, based on my own experience, it's like the way of someone doing something. Like if you say konuşuş, it's like the way of his speaking, or görüş, or yazış. The same examples applies to the same thing, the way someone sees something. Also, they have their independent meanings. For example, görüş is more like sight. So it has a independent, naturally developed meaning. Or like this, giriş. The way, it's not like the way of someone entering. It can also be used like this. You can say, I like the way he enters the room. Onun odaya girişini seviyorum. You can say it that way, or it's independently, it also means entrance. Giriş, çıkış, exit. Or alışveriş. This is basically, almak means to buy something or to take something. Vermek is like to give something, so it's like taking and giving. Because when you shop, you buy stuff and you give money in return. There are some more examples like this one. These are useful to know, so we will also have examples on them. So for now, let's move to this. Like, how do you decline them? How do you add endings on them? So before we learn where to use them, we need to learn how to use them. So in some cases, we use them with noun endings, noun case endings. For example, we use them with accusative ending. Okumayı. If you have a verb that forces accusative ending, then you need to put this y on your verbal noun. For example, sevmek, to like. We will talk about them. When you say I like swimming, you will need this y ending with your verbal noun because it's the object. Or if you say I have started doing whatever, like anything, you will need this ya ending. These endings come from noun case endings. We covered the noun cases in previous lessons. You can check the Google Drive link. They are I, a, da, and tan. For example, you can say ben okumaktan sıkıldım. I'm bored of reading. In that case, we have tan ending. This is only a table. We will see more examples, more descriptive examples. So I'm skipping to the next. Also, in addition to noun cases, they are also used with possessives like benim okumam, senin okuman. This one is more needed for that kind of sentences when you say like need to. When you say I need to go, you will need these endings because this is like a foreshadowing into the future. We will have a future lesson, but when you say I need to sleep, we actually in Turkish say my sleeping is needed, which becomes benim uyumam gerek. So you will need this one specifically for needs or desires. So don't forget about the endings. It could be dative, accusative, just like in the previous slide, or it could be possessives and genitives, like in this one. For example, benim okumam. This ma, this m at the end, refers to benim. So it shows that it's my reading. This can look a bit weird if you're not familiar with this subject, but you will understand how or why they are used that way. So before we go, there's an important reminder for everyone. I've seen this confused a lot of times. When you learn negative endings, you will learn yapma, gelme, bakma, konuşma as imperative mood, like don't. And there's also yapma, which means doing. So they look the same, but context will tell you. By the context, you can tell if it is negative or if it is just a gerund, just a verbal noun. Also, as a simple reminder, if it is a gerund, it will be used as an object. So there will be probably an case ending. Like ben something yapmayı seviyorum. It will be used in the middle of a sentence. But if it is like negative imperative mood, if it means don't do something, it will be used at the end of the sentence. This could be your tip when you need to tell the difference between negatives and gerunds. Okay, so when to use them. This is important, but this is only my way of explaining how they are used. Some books teach them different, but at the end of the day, they are always the same. I believe this could be easier for you to remember. So when you use them as this subject, also it's better if you learn the linguistic terms, like the subject is like the person of the sentence, like whoever is doing the action. So if it is the subject, we use infinitive, we use mek, mak. So Türkçe öğrenmek çok güzel. To learn Turkish is very nice. Kitap okumak çok iyi bir şey. These are the subjects as like a whole. Or this one, kitap okumak çok iyi bir şey. Spor yapmak sağlıklıdır. And you can have more examples. For example, şarkı dinlemek çok iyi bir şey. Or yürümek çok sağlıklı bir aktivitedir. Okay, if you are using them as the subject of the sentence, mak or mek are more naturally used. So, will öğrenme be wrong? Actually, no. It wouldn't be wrong. But in most cases, the me ending is used as an object, not the subject. You can still say Türkçe öğrenme çok güzel, but that sounds weird. Instead of that, for example, this one, I will use me ending as an object. So I will say, ben Türkçe öğrenmeyi seviyorum. So, this time it's the object. Seviyorum, I like. Kim seviyor? Who likes? Ben seviyorum, I like. So, what do I like? Türkçe öğrenmeyi seviyorum. Or güzel, beautiful. What is beautiful? To learn Turkish or learning Turkish is beautiful or very nice. So actually, yeah, this will explain your answer too. Gerunds are objects. In most practices, in most examples, they are the object of the sentence. Yes, pink trousers. That's a correct sentence. So, when we say a gerund, we are talking about the ma or me endings. But you need to remember that when it's the object, it can be declined in noun cases. So what that means is, you can see the noun case endings because it's an object, so it can be declined. Declension means adding noun cases on the objects. Ben Türkçe öğrenmeye başladım. Ben kitap okumayı çok seviyorum. Ben spor yapmaya başladım. So I included this to in parentheses because is actually to, but in English you don't say it. So you need to get used to different translations. Even if in English it's I started learning Turkish, when we say it in Turkish we include a to, like this. You need to get used to that. Or ben kitap okumayı çok seviyorum. I love reading books a lot. So yeah. Herkese iyi akşamlar. Haftaya görüşürüz. Kendinize iyi bakın.
Thank you.